All right, Matthew, welcome to Module 4, Analyzing Training, using training management software to better understand your training. Essentially, how to use Training Peaks. All right, to overview this module, it's a biggie. We have reviewing important metrics, 5 pillars of quick analysis, 2-stage deep dive, locating your data, pacing, getting the whole picture, normalized power on intermittent climbs, my 100K running race, and then recapping TSS with some FAQs, bit of a pro tip and podcast episode thrown in there too. So, all right, Matt, let's get into it. Training Peaks metrics. There's a whole handful of them that's super useful in different scenarios, but we thought we can't start talking about analyzing training without really laying the foundations of, the metrics we're going to be using.
Yeah, we do need to touch on these. Some of them we already covered, like power and heart rate. Those should be pretty straightforward.
Yeah, pretty standard, but that, W for power, watts, BPM for heart rate, just need to understand that. Pace, minutes per K, minutes per mile, those are standards. Then normalized graded pace, most people are gonna know that. That's just taking into account elevation profile of your run. So, if you run up a hill, down a hill, it's gonna normalize that to assume like what you'd be running if you're on the flat. So it's a really helpful metric. They've developed it well, and that leads into normalized power. And I don't know, Matt, what do you think about normalized power?
Normalized power is not bad, but it's also not perfect. I think it gets too much credit.
That's right, and you'll get into that later. But essentially what normalized power does, it takes a 30-second rolling average, right? So if you have high peaks and low lows, then that could skew things a little bit. But for like a racing scenario, it's generally pretty good at understanding the demands of a ride. So that's normalized power. Flow score. What's that, Matt?
Flow score. We're going to talk a bit about some skill data. So how to understand skill execution, especially mountain biking. And with this case, we're talking about braking.
And training stress score. So some people love it. Some people hate it. Some people don't even use it. But really what it just indicates is TSS, training stress score, the stress of each training session. And you can utilize that to look at each individual workout or a whole week or month. So that's training stress score. And then intensity factor. Another one of Training Peaks' proprietary metrics. Intensity factor, percentage of threshold. Pretty easy. If you can do 300 watts for an hour and you do 200 watts, that's 66%. 0.66 intensity factor. So that's an easy one. Then variability index. We don't use this a lot in running, but Matt, you must have a look at it.
I must say that I don't look at this ever. It's a nice little metric, but I basically what it's saying is if you have really high variability, that maybe you should be pedaling more. But if we're mountain biking, I don't think we can just say pedal more because you might hit your pedals on the ground or you might be going down a hill. And when we talk about pacing, actually, we understand that we should actually be pedaling as little as possible, especially in a race.
Yeah, right. So really what variability index is trying to do is it's your normalized power, normalized graded pace divided by your average power or average pace. So if your normalized power is really high because there's a lot of attacks, a lot of descents, like Matt's saying, mountain bike race, there's a lot of pedaling, a lot of not pedaling, a lot of high power, a lot of high power, a lot of low power. Compared to average power, there's a big variability there. You can see it 0.13, so like 30%. Whereas an Ironman or a marathon is or should be very, very low. Like your average and your normalized, there shouldn't be a lot of variability in that because you want to be super consistent in your pacing. So that's variability index. Then we've got power heart rate ratio or pace heart rate ratio. And that's going to give us an indication of the decoupling of like your output and your heart rate. So whatever output, power, pace you're looking at, if that starts to decrease at a constant heart rate or you are holding a constant pace or power and your heart rate increases, we can see that decoupling happening. And so less than 5% is aerobically fit. There's not a lot of decoupling happening, whereas if you are holding a steady heart rate and your pace and power starts to drop and drop and drop, it starts to indicate a lack of aerobic fitness. And we've gone over that in the previous modules. So then zones, well, Matt, we went over zones.
We went over zones, yeah.
And then peaks. So peak outputs for a time or a distance. And peaks, Training Peaks does a great job at utilizing and displaying peaks to make them super understandable, super easy to dive into a bit of analysis, Matt.
Yeah. All right. So as many metrics as there are here, still as scientists, a lot of what we're doing is we're just looking at the basics, right? Power and heart rate. So, but we'll get into what we look at, and that's the main point of this module.
Dr. Matt and I started the Performance Advantage podcast to help runners, riders, and outdoor competitors integrate sports science more effectively into their training and racing.
So over the last few years, Dr. Will and I have covered topics like the lactate threshold, training zones, power meters, and fatigue. Now we're condensing these popular and misunderstood topics into practical courses.
Our courses take our same podcasting style approach to learning and education, and we break it down into bite-sized chunks that you can digest either all at once or as practical little resources to use as and when you need them.
So the biggest difference between our course and any other course you might have taken is that we don't lecture you. It's a conversation between Will and I, and we're explaining complex sports science principles in an easy to understand manner.
Yeah, we also integrate how we use them on the regular. Our courses come with a certificate of completion as well as a lot of takeaway resources such as training plans, scientific articles, and quizzes that you can do to check your progress along the way.
Our sports science courses are available now. Register on performanceadvantagepodcast.com for immediate access.